Usually when I'm out and about filming, I like to have the smallest and most lightweight kit I can possibly have. But there are certain shoots when I'm out there in the field, I just need a ton of battery life, and I'm shooting handheld, so I need a little bit more weight to my camera. And in this video, we're gonna go over how to turn all of this stuff into the camera you saw in the thumbnail. So let me put you guys down on the tripod and we will build that kit. All right, so we're going to turn all of these parts into the camera you saw in the thumbnail. So we will start by clearing all this stuff out of the way, and I would suggest having a screwdriver on you. The SmallRig cage comes with one of these little tools that can be helpful in a pinch, but I find that the best screwdriver is a screwdriver. This is much easier, and you can really crank all of the screws into place and make sure everything's nice and snug and tight. So let's start by putting all of this stuff to the side and then put the camera into the cage. Just a reminder, all of these products will be linked in the description for your ease of clickage. And just a disclaimer, SmallRig did send me some of these products. I had the majority of the products, but they sent me the rods, the quick release, and the dummy battery. One of the awesome things about the tool that comes in the bottom of the SmallRig cages is that you can unscrew this little screw that is on the side of your camera strap support, and you can screw that directly into the cage. So you not only have a point of contact on the bottom, but you have a point of contact on the side to keep your camera from moving. The next thing we'll do is put our memory card in. I just took that out for the thumbnail to have more stuff. But the next thing is kind of up to you. I like to put the quick release plate on my camera so I can detach it from my rods quickly and easily. I won't really be putting this on a tripod for this particular shoot that I'm doing. Some people like to put the quick release plate on the bottom of the rods so they can put it on a tripod and off really easily. However, I like to have my quick release plate on top of the rod so I can remove my camera quickly from the whole setup. If I need to, I'll be shooting a couple photos, just quick photos for social media, and I don't want to be shooting photos with a giant rig. So for this particular shoot, I'll be putting the quick release plate on my cage and then putting my quick release plate on these rods here. So let's just put these together and I will see you in a second. Another nice thing about these adapter plates is that there's 2 points of contact to your cage. So there's a 3/8 and a 1/4 20 screw on the bottom of this, so it'll attach to your cage. So again, like when we're putting our camera in the cage, there's 2 points of contact here, so it won't bend side to side the more you're actually using this and maneuvering it when you're out shooting. So next we will put our quick release base plate onto our rod holder. And again, there are 2 points of contact, a 3/8 and a 1/4 inch. So putting these into the appropriate holes in your quick release plate, pretty simple and straightforward. There are tons of different holes to choose from, but I will use the holes directly in the middle. Okay, so now that our Arca Swiss quick release base plate is on our rod holder, we will attach our camera quickly to our base plate just to make sure everything works and is working fine in there. There's no parts that are touching or rubbing against each other. Now we will put our 15mm rods on here. These are the, I think 11 or 12 inch carbon fiber SmallRig rods. And again, with our rod holder, we have 2 points of contact here, so we can just gently snug these down and we don't have to wrench these down. If I was using one of the rod holders with only one holder here, in the past, I would have to really kind of get those, give them the business, wrench them down so they wouldn't move. But when you have two, you can just gently put them in place and they won't be able to move. For the lens, we'll be using my 24-105. This is one of my favorite lenses. It is not the fastest lens and it is not the sharpest lens, but it is really versatile. And when I'm out running and gunning, I love the ability to be able to shoot something wide and then punch in. Now that the lens is on our camera, we will be putting the matte box on. I've been using the SmallRig mini matte box. And I have ND filters that I've been using, but I don't have any diffusion filters yet. So I've been using my circular diffusion filters, and this is a NiSi 1/8 black mist filter. And the nice thing about these is there's a thread on the front of them, so we can just thread on our 1/8 Pro Mist and then put our adapter onto the Pro Mist, and then we can put the matte box onto there. So I'll be using circular diffusion filters, but I will be using my matte box and just swapping in the giant NDs. So to mount this, it is really easy. Just unscrew the SmallRig mini matte box all the way, and it will thread directly onto this adapter. And once it's on, you just tighten this down. And after you screw that on, it is securely on the front of your lens. It's not shaking or moving around. One of my favorite parts about this SmallRig mini matte box is, one, how light it is. I can just put this all into a bag, and it comes with a case I can put it in. And it is tiny. When you're just putting it into a backpack, you don't have to take a giant Pelican case around with you. The next one is how many flags are on this thing. If you're in a really bright environment and do not want any lens flares, you can, take this top flag up, and the top flag also has side flags on the top. And if you need more flags, it comes with a tray that slides into the front. We'll just attach it really quick. And after sliding that tray on, you have these side flags as well. So if you're in a really bright and reflective environment, this is going to be a really great matte box for you. For what I will be doing, I won't be filming anything where I need to worry about any glare coming in from the sides, because it's just really going to be straight up lighting. But if you want to remove these, there's these little tabs on the side, and after you slide your trays in, pressing these little tabs on the side will open it up, and you can just pull the flags straight out on this nice tray. So this tray is also where you put your filters. So now I can take my filters out of the case and put them directly into this tray, and then slide the tray into the matte box. Anytime I don't really have to handle this glass, I'm a really big fan of it. I don't like sliding these ND filters directly into a matte box tray. I like that I can take it out, put it on a nice even surface, put it in here, and take my time and put it in these trays, because these ND filters aren't cheap, and I like that I don't have to touch the edges of them either. So once you put the ND filter in the bottom, this little latch right here securely mounts it in the frame, and you can move this all over and touch the frame, and you're not touching your actual filters. So this is nice. It keeps them clean, and the less I have to touch my filters, the better. So now we can just take this, and looking at the slide indicators, we know to slide it this way onto our matte box. So line it up with the edges and just slide it in, and make sure it clicks into place. So you'll actually hear the click. And now our filter is in our matte box, and it's not going anywhere. One thing, if you are going to be zooming around, you don't want to put this next accessory on, actually. This accessory will mount the front of the matte box onto your rails and securely keep it in place. I know I might be zooming around a little bit for this next shoot that I'm doing, so in all reality, I would leave this piece off. However, I did do a shoot last week where I was using my 35mm, and I obviously couldn't zoom that lens around, so I securely mounted my matte box to my rails using this. So just for sake of example, let's put this on really quick. Let's close these flags. So now we'll put our matte box holder onto our camera. We will just thread this onto the rods, and be sure to put this so it tightens up on the rods, but don't tighten to the point where you can't actually move it around. Now that everything is in place, we can tighten it down, and nothing will be turning or moving. I like this if I'm going to be going out and filming something that I'll be whipping the camera around a lot. I was filming car stuff the other day, and I was moving the camera around, and it was just nice to have another point of contact. Do a little cleanup here, and the next thing we're gonna put on is our top handle. I've already attached our monitor mount to here. The particular monitor mount that I'm using is also from SmallRig, as is the handle with the record button on top, which is really important. Once you start rigging this thing up, reaching and pushing this record button can be kind of troublesome, but with a giant record button on the top, it makes it really easy. You will have to run one more cable from your top handle to your camera, but it is
well worth it, trust me. Now that we have our monitor mount on our handle, we can put this on here using our NATO rail that we have on the top of our camera. So again, I will link all of the exact sizes of all of these products in the description below so you can easily find it. And I will try to label them the best I can, because I also have a NATO rail on the side of my camera that we will be adding another handle to. And let me go grab that really quick. This is the other handle we will put onto the side of our camera with the NATO rail I have here. And this is the SmallRig wooden handle. I've used this handle a lot, and it is one of my favorites because of how ergonomic it is. It has all of these nice little hand cutouts. It's not one of those bars where you just kind of like have to put your hand on there. And this little piece right here that like goes out really helps, because let me just put this on here. With this quick release, it's easy to put on, but I often find myself using this handle in the forward position, and then I can pick my camera up and move it around. And because of this little thing right here, it doesn't really put a lot of strain on your hands or wrist. It's nice if I have to move or adjust something on my camera. With this side, it's nice just because I have the grip built in. But with this side, I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have this particular grip. So it sounds weird to be talking about a grip so much, but one of this in the forward position has been one of my favorite parts of this whole setup. So next we will be adding our power, and that will be around this side, and it will be our V-mount batteries. Holding our V-mount batteries will be our V-mount plate. And this is a V-mount battery plate with an articulating arm. So it's not just a rod holder with a cheese plate and a battery plate bolted to it and stuck in place. I find myself with the A7S III with the articulating screen in any camera where the majority of the controls are right here. If you have a V-mount battery planted to the back of your camera, it makes it really difficult to make quick adjustments. And if you're, kind of doing one of these and looking behind the screen, and then the V-mount battery plate is too close to the eyepiece, so then the screen gets dark because it thinks you're using the eyepiece. It's just a whole nightmare with this camera in particular. So I like having an articulating arm that I can move the V-mount battery out of place if I need to, swing the camera screen out or just make some quick adjustments on the back. This is nice so I don't have to remove all my power cables, slide the batteries out, make my adjustments, put it back in, put the cables on, power up the camera, all of that stuff. It gets really annoying, and having a little articulating arm for this setup in particular has been really nice. So let's put this on our rig and get a V-mount battery on this thing. So when it comes to batteries, we really have two options. Do you want to have a lighter camera kit, or do you want to have the nuclear option where you'll never have to plug your camera in ever again? It really depends on what shoot you're going for. I'm going for a shorter shoot, so I'll use this smaller battery. I really like this, it's FXLION. I might do a whole video on the difference between these two batteries and powering options for the A7S III, but I will plug this one into here, and I will be able to turn the battery on. It's probably on, yeah. So now our V-mount battery is powering our plate here, and we have access to this D-tap, or we have access to the USB, the 8 volt and the two 16 volts on this side of the camera plate. To power our camera from our V-mount battery, we'll be using the SmallRig dummy battery. I've been using this battery, and it's been really nice when I'm using it with this giant battery. I can leave my camera on for an infinite amount of time, it seems like, and I really don't have any problems with it. It's nice to be able to plug your battery directly into one of these USB-C ports up here. But if you're using a V-mount battery that doesn't have USB-C ports on it, this is a really great way to power your camera. Make sure to plug this into the 8 volt power, and now you can turn your camera on and it will pretty much run forever off of this V-mount battery. For our monitor, we have the Atomos Ninja 5. This is my favorite monitor and recorder, and it is in a SmallRig cage. I purchased this SmallRig cage as soon as I bought my monitor because I knew I would be using it in run and gun situations, and this cage really does help. And it also does help that I can keep my SSDs in the back with these little tabs that keep this in place. That's another big reason that I always constantly use this cage with my recorder. So now that this is stable in the front of our camera, another reason I like using V-mount batteries with this is that when you pick this up, it doesn't feel unbalanced once you start adding stuff to this. The V-mount battery in the plate so far out on this end, when you start adding, monitors and batteries and matte boxes and filters, it can start to feel a little unbalanced, but with these V-mount batteries, it really does balance everything out. Adds more weight, but it's more balanced. So this is one configuration if you want to use the NPF Sony batteries with your Atomos Ninja 5, but I like to power everything from V-mount battery power, so we will be disconnecting our dummy battery and putting in a different powering option. So now that we have our dummy battery out, we can put in a stock regular camera battery, and this is just so we have power to the camera in case something happens and the power between our V-mount battery and our camera is disconnected or something is happening while we're filming. It won't just completely corrupt the file and you won't be able to use it. So we will use the USB-C to USB-C cable I have here to plug one end into our FXLION V-mount battery, and we will plug the other end into the power delivery USB-C port on our A7S III. So this will allow us to power our camera. See if you can hear it turning on. So after we remove our battery from our Ninja 5, we can use the dummy battery that comes with the Ninja 5 in the box, put that in the battery slot, and then use an 8-volt cable, the little tiny patch cable, to plug into the back of our Ninja 5, and then into the 8-volt of our battery plate here. And now we should be able to turn on our Ninja 5 and still be able to use our A7S III, all using the V-mount battery power. So now that we have all of the major components of our build together, now we have to connect the feeds to the camera from the monitor. So to do that, one of my favorite cables to do that is the short patch right angle full-size HDMI to HDMI cables. This allows you to have just enough cable to connect your monitor to your camera, and there's not a ton of slack left over. And also you have plenty of room to grab this handle here and move it around, and it's not a straight HDMI cable coming right out of your camera. Unfortunately, this does not do ProRes RAW, and if you want to do ProRes RAW, you need something a little more fancy like this Condor Blue cable. And this cable is a little more expensive than this right angle to right angle cable, but you will be recording ProRes RAW. That's one thing to take into consideration. If you're recording ProRes, make sure you have the appropriate HDMI cable to do it. And the last cable we have here is our USB-C to Sony multi-cable, so we can use our top record button here. I like to put this right angle cable facing straight out from our handle and then route it under our handle so it doesn't get in the way when we're using our wooden side handle here. And this plugs into the Sony multi-cable port directly under our USB-C port. So now we'll be able to press record on our top handle, and we will start recording down here. You can't see it, but we're recording. We're recording just nothing but darkness because my flag's down. So now that we have our camera fully rigged up, we can tell that it is really solid and not moving anywhere. We can put this anywhere we want and all the pieces are staying in place. And that makes me really confident when I'm out filming that my equipment is in the right place and it is constantly being powered from a nice power source, that I'm not constantly checking my camera's battery and my Ninja's battery and how much storage I have. If you have big enough SSDs or SD cards, you don't have to worry about anything, and the camera just gets out of your way and lets you film. One thing I like about this particular powering setup for the A7S III is that if for some reason this USB-C cable gets taken out, we still have a battery in the camera, so we're still powering our camera, but it's just not charging it. So if you're moving and this gets accidentally knocked out, you're still having your files to be recoverable because you're still using the regular camera battery. One thing to note, if you're using the DTAP or the 8-volt dummy battery, if you remove that battery, there is no way to recover the video file from your camera. So the V-mount battery with USB-Cs that are 9-volt 3 amp are a little bit more expensive, but if you're powering your camera a lot and you're moving around and there's a possibility to snag this off of the V-mount battery, you really want your camera to still be recording and have a file that's not corrupted. So investing in a V-mount battery that you can directly power and have that secondary power just running off your regular camera battery is pretty nice. However, if you're in a regular, on a tripod, you're not going to be walking around and bumping into this thing. I actually do use this dummy battery quite a bit. It's just easier to plug that in and plug it into the battery plate and be able to use a humongous battery, because this one is cheaper than the FXLION, but it is also 190 versus 50. So I can use this one forever. If this configuration is a little bit too big and bulky for you, I do have another way that I rig my A7S III up. And it is significantly smaller, but a lot of the core pieces are very similar. I'll leave a link to that video on screen right now, and I just want to say thank you guys for sticking around to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.